Welcome to this week's update, and it concerns a shoe dropping of something we've talked about all year with Commissioner Power, and the courts got involved here. Adrian Peterson versus the NFL is a win, not for the NFL, but for Adrian Peterson. He won his court case. Let's review. Adrian Peterson was put on the commissioner exempt list back in September after charges of child endangerment, hitting his son with a switch. You remember? Back in September, that firestorm brewed, and he was put on this commissioner exempt list, sent away from the Vikings for the year with pay on this new list. Then we get to November, where his case was adjudicated. He pled out to a misdemeanor, by the way, that did not involve anything with hitting a child or child endangerment. It was a simple misdemeanor. He pled out. Then we get to the NFL putting him on an indefinite suspension list, ignoring what the plea to a misdemeanor was and focusing on the facts of striking his child. Then we get to an arbitration where Adrian Peterson appeals that indefinite suspension, and the arbitrator, Harold Henderson, someone close to the NFL, has worked there 20 years, decides to affirm the NFL's indefinite suspension. And Adrian Peterson remains on an indefinite suspension until at least April 15th, when he could apply for reinstatement. Fast forward, Adrian Peterson and Jeffrey Kessler, his lawyer, take it to court. They go to the federal district court in Minnesota, appeal to the judge, Judge Doty, that this was an arbitrary and a capricious suspension, and that the arbitrator erred in ruling for the NFL. And lo and behold, here we are. Last week, the Judge Doty in the federal district court of Minnesota rules for Peterson, basically saying that the arbitrator was unfair, not that he overstepped his bounds, that he did overstep his bounds, not that he was partial or biased, that he overstepped his bounds. What happens? Well, just like the judge in the Ray Rice appeal, the judge in the Adrian Peterson appeal said the same thing. NFL, you cannot apply this new Get Tough domestic violence policy towards conduct that preceded that new policy. The new policy, as we remember, didn't come into place until late fall, December. Well, this conduct, whether it's Adrian Peterson back in May or Ray Rice back in February, obviously preceded that. So they are limited to the old standard of discipline, whatever that was, probably a standard like 2 games Ray Rice got initially for his domestic violence incident with his wife. So where are we? Well, Judge Doty cannot reinstate Adrian Peterson. What he did was send it back for re-arbitration, whether by Harold Henderson or by another arbitrator, to decide what's going to happen to Adrian Peterson, with his instructions that if you're going to apply discipline, it has to be the old level of discipline, which would mean maybe 2 games, which would mean Adrian Peterson, who's already served more than that, would be free to sign. And then there's the whole issue of whether the Vikings keep him or not. He doesn't want to play there. There's a lot of enmity and antagonism between him and the Vikings. That's for another day. From the sports law angle, it is a huge win for the player, going to court, getting outside the CBA arbitration process and winning. On a separate but parallel track, because of what I just said, the NFL has appealed to the more friendly, at least to them in the history of this, 8th Circuit United States Court of Appeals, and basically trying to overturn this Judge Doty Federal District Court opinion. That process will take months. That will not affect Adrian Peterson. He will be reinstated likely within a week or 2. But what we have now is the NFL going to court, because you can understand why. They don't want the precedent that a player can just ignore or go outside of the CBA system, find a judge, and have him rule against the NFL. They think that Judge Doty went way beyond his bounds, and he inserted himself in judging discipline on what a player should get for striking a child. They told me in so many words they can sleep at night for what they did to Adrian Peterson for striking a child. At the end of the day, here's what I think is going on. I think the NFL maybe thought they'd suffer some legal losses. They suffered from bruises in court and in arbitrations, but at the end of the day, Ray Rice, Adrian Peterson, Greg Hardy, all off the field in 2014, with groups, women's groups, domestic violence groups braying and sponsors clamoring. They did what they wanted to do. They kept these guys off the field. They could not have them playing on Sunday or Monday night or Sunday night or Thursday night with the world watching, knowing what they had just done to their wife or their child, etc. So these kind of things were maybe anticipated by the NFL in terms of courts and arbitrations and judges and even legal losses. But they won the court of public opinion by keeping, at least the business side, keeping them off the field. That may, in the end, have been their primary objective all along. That's it for this week. Another busy, eventful week in sports law and sports business. We'll be back next week. I'm Andrew Brandt.